Before I was Lance Earl, your Christian disciple, I was a flight engineer in the United States Air Force. And as such, I flew with air crew that consisted of 2 pilots, 2 flight engineers, and 1 loadmaster. And we each had emergency procedures. We had to be familiar with our particular jobs and duties in the event that certain types of emergencies occurred. Some of these were so urgent that they had to be accomplished immediately to keep a bad situation from becoming worse. And we called these bold-faced items. And what they were essentially is they were emergency procedures that we had to commit to memory. We had to know exactly what they were so that in the event that a specific emergency would occur, we could accomplish certain procedures before we turned to the flight manual. We had to do them, like I said, instantly. Now, each crew member had their own set of emergency procedures. The pilots had theirs, the flight engineers, we had ours, the loadmasters, they had their emergency procedures, and they had to know them inside and out. For me, I had bold-faced items. For example, APU fire. So if the APU were to catch fire, I had certain procedures that had to happen bang, 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 bang before I turned to the manual. We had another set of procedures for loss of all generators, smoke and fumes in the cockpit, etc. And these had to be committed to memory because any sort of delay, even an insignificant delay could turn a bad situation into a terrible, terrible situation. These bold-faced items were there to ensure that we could deal with problems before they became worse, before the aircraft or the crew were put into jeopardy. Now, on occasion, flight examiners would show up. There were flight engineer examiners, there were pilot examiners, there were loadmaster examiners, and they would come and they would monitor us as we did our duties. And one of the things that would almost always occur is the examiner would ask, okay, what are the bold-faced items for APU fire, or what's the bold-faced items for loss of all generators, or whatever. And we had to know exactly what they were, and we had to name them in order. And if we failed, even if we just took 2 items and inverted them and named one before the other, immediately we would be grounded. And we would have to go through all types of procedures and coursework and flight simulator and on and on and on in order to become requalified to fly again. And so it was something that we considered to be very, very serious. So let's switch now from flight engineer to disciple of the Lord Jesus Christ and see if we can apply some of what I learned as an aircrew member to, I think, what we ought to know as Christians. My message is primarily to those who are within the Mormon corridor, which includes Idaho, Utah, and Arizona. In these states, it's really difficult to meet anyone who is not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And when you meet them, they are having a profound emergency, an emergency that jeopardizes themselves, their spouses, their children, their extended families, an emergency that will place them in the lake of fire where they will suffer eternally if they don't get this under control now. So I'm here today to ask you to consider hosting a series of training meetings in your area where we will invite Christians from all different areas, all different churches to come and participate and learn a few bold-faced items, immediate actions that they can do in the event that they run into a Mormon who's having an emergency. And there's no such thing as a Mormon that is not in an emergent situation.